You know, it's not true that business ethics is an oxymoron. Many of the speakers who have visited Baruch to discuss leadership with our students have addressed the issue of business ethics.
An oft-quoted maxim that we use in business is good ethics are good business. I believe that. I believe it may be painful in the short run, but in the long run it works. And I certainly believe it on an academic level here. Good ethics are good business. And by good ethics, I mean more than staying out of jail. SEC Commissioner, Chairman, I guess, Breeden once said that staying out of jail is not a worthy enough ambition. And it's not a worthy enough ambition for you. Not getting caught cheating is also not a worthy ambition. You can do better than that. For over 10 years, Baruch College has been raising its educational academic standards. As I read your code, it's obvious that you're raising the bar for ethical standards. We were right when we pushed to raise the academic standards. And you are certainly right in raising the ethical standards.
You know, every single company out there basically tries to follow what the competition is doing to make their products better and also to make the experience of the customers a lot better. And you've been reading in the newspapers a lot about pretexting, a whole bunch of things about how companies get information. And one of the things we've had as a policy for many, many years is that we make sure that we play the game fair. We don't get any information on our competitors that is not readily available. If you have to go through, you have to put on a trench coat to get that information, we just won't want that information. And we do it, and we use that information to show our clients what we've got. And you know why it's so important? Because what do you think a client would think if you told a client, look, we are better than this other company because look what they're doing. And they're going to ask you, how did you get that information? Well, never mind. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. It was kind of dark. And we got the information. That's not the message you want to give your clients, because what are clients going to say, first of all? If you're willing to go to that extreme to get that information, what would you do to us if you had the opportunity? And again, it doesn't go with our culture. So we believe that you need to play the game, but you need to play it in a fair fashion. Don't be underhanded about playing the game.
Hi, I'm Donald Vredenberg, Professor of Management at Baruch College's Zicklin School of Business. Leaders display integrity when they demonstrate consistent honesty and fairness. Meritocratic and forthright, they build trust. Ethical leaders fulfill commitments and admit mistakes.
We learn in business that mistakes are plentiful. We all make them. In the introduction to my class at Stern, the material they get in the syllabus says something to the effect that I've made 1 million mistakes in my career that I wish I hadn't made. And I'll tell you about some of them so you don't have to make those same mistakes, which will give you ample time to make new mistakes that I haven't even thought about. That's true here. Business people make plenty of mistakes. And God knows I've made them. And you have to tolerate mistakes, because otherwise you can't live in this world. But you have to learn to be ruthless about ethical lapses. Absolutely ruthless.
Ethical leadership is not just a matter of individual character. A company's reputation is a valued asset with consequences for financial, product, and labor markets. Building and sustaining an ethical sensibility and reputation takes a company a long time, but its destruction can occur quickly.
We all make lots of mistakes. We solve mistakes. But cheating is a giant mistake. Cheating, you don't survive. Because cheating destroys you and destroys your institution, as it is destroying the reputation of some of these academic institutions that you've read about in the paper. In business, we sometimes use, and maybe you use it here at the school, the New York Times theory. The New York Times theory being, if what I'm about to do were on the front page of the New York Times, would I be embarrassed? Would I be embarrassed if my spouse knew about it? Would I be embarrassed if my children knew about it? Because if the answer is yes, you've got to say to yourself, do I really want to do it? In this world, reputation is everything. We all function on reputation. Products are built on reputation. Services are built on reputation. This educational program is built on reputation. And so every day we try and enhance our reputation. And reputations take a long time to create the kind of reputation you want. You don't create it in a day. But it takes a minute to lose it. In 1 minute, you can lose your reputation. And once you lose it, it's virtually impossible to regain it.
Ethical leadership derives in part from ethical decision-making, but it also involves a culture that recognizes ethics. Effective leaders know that failing to build an ethical culture communicates tolerance of less ethics. Incorporating relevant ethical issues into performance appraisal systems and training programs reflects and reinforces an organization's ethical leadership.
This is what the client wanted. The client asked us to give them what kind of rate of return we could generate for their investments, and basically explain how we were going to get those rates of return. But the client said, give us your expected rate of return, and we're putting out all these bids out there, or these proposals. We're asking a whole bunch of companies to compete. And whoever gives us the highest rate of return will get our business. And guess what? Everyone wants the business. We want the business. Other people want the business. But what we told the client was, please tell us what your risk parameters are. Tell us what your risk philosophy is. And then we'll give you the optimal portfolio and give you the rate of return. And the client said, no, we don't want that. We want the rate of return. If you don't play by our rules, you're going to lose. And guess what we did? We told the client, thank you very much for your time, but we do not feel it's the right thing to do. We don't feel we have the right, we're not putting forth the right amount of integrity if we give you a rate of return, but we don't tell you what kind of risk you're going to take. And we won't tell you what risk to take because you have to tell us. You have to tell us how much risk you're willing to take, and then we'll tell you what's the highest rate of return. And if you're not prepared to do that, then we will thank you for your time, and we walked away. And about 4 months later, apparently they had a debate internally after they got all these bids, and obviously some of them were really high rates of return. Some of those rates of return you only read about in the internet or you get those emails. They got really nervous, and they came back to us and they said, we think you're right. We want to give you what our risk parameters are, what our risk tolerance is, and then we'll ask you to give the rate of return. And guess what? We got the business. And I think that's what success is all about. There is no trade-off between success and a lack of integrity. I think you can have both. And in the long run, when you have integrity, those are the people that make it to the finish line.
The Zicklin School has a chapter of Net Impact, an organization providing benefits for those students interested in corporate social responsibility. Ethics Awareness Week occurs during the spring semester, as does an ethics essay contest. During the entire year, the Center for Corporate Integrity provides CSR programming for business leaders. Leadership ethics occupies an important place in Baruch's business education.